Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, we'll be talking about interfaces in Java. So interfaces are very similar to classes, except that the methods don't have any implementation. The goal behind an interface is for classes to use them as guidelines so that they can ultimately achieve abstraction. Now, abstraction is when you hide away all the complicated details and have the users simply understand what your code does, but not necessarily know how it does everything. So to make sense of this, let's take a look at an example. So here in my source folder, I'll right click and then I'll go to new and then I'll click on Java class. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an interface first. We'll call this interface animal. Okay. And inside of this animal interface, we're going to create three methods that all animals share. And those three things that I can think of are eat, poop, and sleep. All right. So I'll go ahead and start creating the methods for those three actions. So the first one is eat. So I'll type in public void eat and then the open and close parentheses. Now, normally you would then add the curly braces and start writing your implementation. But because this is an interface, we don't need to provide an implementation. So we get rid of those squiggle lines and we simply add a semicolon. Okay, so we're done with that one. We'll go ahead and create the other one, which is poop. And then we'll create the third one, which is sleep. Okay, and that's it. We're done creating our animal interface. So what we do now is we create a class and we'll call it dog. Now, a dog is a type of animal, right? So it makes sense for us to implement the animal interface. And for us to do that, we would type in implements and then the name of the interface. So it should look like this. Now the reason it's showing us the red squiggle line is because when a class implements an interface, it needs to import all the method signatures from that interface. So to easily do this, go ahead and hover over the red squiggle line and then click on Implement Methods. And then click OK. Now as you can see, it's imported all the method signatures from the animal interface. And all we have to do now is simply provide an implementation for each. So we'll go ahead and simply type in something like system.out.println so that we can print something out to the console window. And let's come up with an implementation for each of these. So for eat, I would type in something like dog eats steak. For poop, I would type something like dog poops a lot. And for sleep, I would put dog sleeps for 8 hours. Okay? And that's it. That's really all there is to using interfaces. I think the difficult thing is understanding why we use interfaces in the first place. To improve on this example, I'm going to create another class, and I'll call it bird, okay? And we're going to implement from the animal interface. So again, we type in implements and then animal. Again, we need to import all the methods from the animal interface. So we'll go ahead and hover over the red squiggle line and then click on implement methods. Okay, so as you can see, we now have all the method signatures from the animal interface. And we simply do the same thing that we did in dog. Okay, not the exact same thing, but something similar. So here it would be something like bird eats bread. Here in poop, we would put bird poops a little. And then in sleep, we would put bird sleeps for 4 hours. Okay. Now, as you can see, the method signature in the bird class is exactly the same as it is in the dog class. Okay. They're both public, void, and they both have the same name, eat. Okay. As well as the same number of parameters. Okay. They both don't have any parameters, actually. But the only thing that changes is the implementation. You'll see that the implementation in the dog class is different than the one in the bird class. Okay? And again, the goal here is so that your users get a good idea of what your code does by simply looking at the method signature. Okay? So by a user simply looking at the method signature, they should, in theory, have an idea of what that code does, okay? Especially if it's implemented in dog, you'll know that it is specific to a dog, and you'll know that when it's implemented in bird, you'll know that it's specific to the bird, okay? All right, one last thing that I feel like a lot of teachers and professors don't teach or don't go over is that you can also have what's called a constant. Actually, you can have more than one constant inside of an interface. So it's basically a global variable that you cannot change. Okay. So the only thing that I can really think of for this example is if you have something like ears, right? The number of ears an animal has, for the most part, it's almost always two, right? And I think that's the case with a dog, right? Dogs have 2 ears, and birds also have 2 ears, right? So you can use this ears variable anywhere inside of your dog class or in anywhere inside of your bird class or any other class that implements the animal interface. Okay? But you can't change it. Okay? You can't change this to a 3 or a 10 or anything like that. Just know that this is a constant and you can use it anywhere you want, but you just can't change it. Okay? Now, the use of constants inside of interfaces is, I would say, uncommon, but it is an option that you can use. Okay? All right, and so before we end this video, let me just go ahead and show you how everything ties together. So we'll go ahead and just create a new dog object, and we'll go ahead and create a new bird object. Okay. All right, so I'll type in dog, and then I will call the eat method. Okay. And I will type in bird, and I'll also call the eat method. So when I run this, you'll see that it prints out dog eats steak, and then it prints out bird eats bread. Okay. They are both the same method signature, but the implementation is different. All right, so that is all for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.